Hello, my name is Mandolin Royal, and today I didn't plan on doing a video, but then I thought about you guys wanting to know my methods and what I'm doing here. So I decided to do a quick little update because I'm chilling here on a bucket using a stool as my table to take some notes on some topics I want to dive more into. It is spring, it is breeding season, so I wanted to get more into the critical thinking for breeding selection, recognizing the key traits and how that can relate to your goals, which traits matter the most, deciphering compatibility because every single bird is an individual and each one is going to be a little bit different than the next one. And it can get pretty tricky figuring out who is actually the best mate for who. Then going into the numbers versus your expectations. So how your flock size will impact your goals, how you can move forward with a small number, and explaining a lot more about how many birds to breed from, what those reasons are, and the 10% retention rule and the reason why. Then a little bit about conditions and husbandry and the effects on the results, simplifying the complexity and the need for time and patience, because you can't rush any of this, and you just have to move at the pace that the flock is capable of. Market topics, that's getting to be quite popular, and I hear a lot more from people who are wanting to know, how do I bring these birds to market? So as you know, I'm doing the feed trial to find out what the FCR is, which is the feed conversion rate, which is your cost to grow to market age in just the feed expense. So we're going to dive more into the feed, nutrition, and those details, as well as the stocking rate and the space needs, because you cannot jam these birds together like you can with some of the commercial hybrids. They are not as tolerant to those sorts of spaces. So we'll talk more about that. This is more back into breeding selection, but how to judge your own birds, the needed tools, and developing your own goal-based system to meet your flock goals. Then we have the results of effective culling, which is when to expect progress, what you might be seeing, how long it'll take. Because some of you guys, you might be thinking you'll do a lot in 6 months, but I'm going to break it down a little further into more of that long game effect, because this is very much a long game. There is no quick fix. There's not really any easy answers, but I'll talk more about that. So then we have selective line breeding versus clan mating, and the spiral programs, and what that means for consistency and or diversity. And all of this is very important, and I think there is a when and why for what method you should use, and I'm going to explain a lot more about that too. So that's my first page. I'm going to keep observing birds. And part of this observation that I'm doing, just sitting here on this bucket, is thinking about my own flock goals, what I hope to achieve, what I'm doing in each of these pens, and looking for my next dinner opportunity as well. Because if I see a bird that made it through thus far, since all of these guys are at least 8 months old, and then I have my pen of old birds over here in pen 2, and they're anywhere from 1.5 years up to almost 5 years old. And I've got to think about who their actual best, most compatible mate is. And when I do that, I'm going to document it and show you guys more about my thinking and why I'm doing what I'm doing, just so we can maintain our flock goals. And some of these topics, you know, someone should do a podcast. And I am currently doing a podcast with Rip Stalvey and John Gunterman. It's called the Poultry Keepers Podcast, and we break into some of these topics, and I wish there was more time to really get in there and dig this stuff up, because it's a lot of food for thought. It's a lot to ponder. But they've they did do a YouTube channel under that name to put those audio files into more places, and you can also find it on all of the podcast listing services. And we try to avoid rabbit holes. We try to stay on topic, but some of this stuff is so subjective and nuanced. We can't help it. But we're a pretty good crew, and lots of words of wisdom are in there. But I'm also going to start a new channel on my own YouTube that dives more into these details. And I'm going to see if I can come up with a second page of notes. Or if I'm going to get totally distracted and start sorting birds. I don't know. We'll see. So feel free to like and subscribe as I dive into this. And some of this information absolutely transfers into other dual-purpose breeds, so keep that in mind too. More on this later.